Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Female Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Danny, and today I'm doing another solo podcast. And today I'm going to talk about the subject of Christmas. But first of all, I wanted to say an absolutely massive thank you from the bottom of my heart because your guys' support means the absolute world. I checked the other day on my SoundCloud account and we had roughly 1,700 plays over the week. And I'm seeing that number pretty consistently, which is absolutely incredible. Like if I imagine 1,700 people stood in front of me, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I just wanted to say like a massive thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. It means the absolute world. Please continue to tune in. And if there's ever anything you guys want me to cover from like a topic perspective, or if there's any guests that you want to hear from, please get in touch with me, DM me, comment down below in the comments section on YouTube, leave a review, let me know who you want to hear from. It means the world, and please keep sharing it to your Instagram story when you listen, because that's how I reach new people. And like I've said before, I do this podcast because I want to help you. I want to help as many people as I possibly can. And the way in which I can do that is via you guys sharing it and you showing your support so that I can reach more people. If you can like, subscribe, and leave a review if you enjoy it, honestly, that's how I'm going to reach those people and help educate people, help people through their struggles, and hopefully sometimes help entertain people in some ways. But yeah, please continue to show your support because it's how I grow, it's why I do this, and it means the absolute world. So thank you to all of you who do tune in on a regular basis, and please continue to show your support because it's why I do this. Now, I can't believe it's Christmas next week, and I thought it would be really important to do a podcast on Christmas. I don't know if any of you listening will have watched it, but myself and Lydia did an Instagram live Q&A on the subject of managing the festive period, but I thought it would be really useful for me to do a podcast talking through specific points as opposed to just answering the odd question. And I know that it's a time of year that can be quite difficult to navigate and can leave people feeling quite stressed in the run up to it. People can sometimes feel guilty afterwards, and it's a time of year that can be so enjoyable once you learn to relax around it, and once you learn what's right for you and you stop overthinking it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Christmas and how I would recommend going about it, and some things that I would recommend implementing to help you with your mindset around the festive period and your ability to enjoy it and the ability to move forwards past it afterwards. So the first point I wanted to talk about is that I would not recommend restricting in the run up to Christmas. So I think the approach for most people of trying to save calories, whether that be via tracking or whether that be via not tracking and just trying to reduce your intake, I think for a lot of people, trying to restrict in the run up to an occasion like Christmas can be quite detrimental in the long term. So I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you are somebody who has struggled with any sort of binge eating tendencies in the past, any other disordered eating traits, any full-blown eating disorders. I think the approach of restricting in the run-up to Christmas is a really damaging approach for those people over the long term, because it just increases the likelihood of you getting back into really bad habits from a relationship with food perspective. And you guys will have heard me talk about before the fact that often if you heavily restrict, it will just increase your likelihood of overindulging in an uncontrollable manner further down the line, because you're going to be super hungry going into whatever occasion you're trying to quote unquote save calories for, and that will increase your likelihood of overindulging, especially when you've got a lot of hyper palatable foods around you, which is the case when it comes to Christmas. And what I mean when I say hyper palatable is foods that you really, really enjoy, that are really easy to overeat on because they taste so good and they're generally quite calorie dense, so quite low in food volume, so you don't feel very full after having like a serving of these hyper palatable foods. And that's partially why it's so easy to over consume them. So planned restraint, I'm going to use the word restraint, not restriction. Planned restraint, so where you save calories in the run up to an occasion, is okay in some circumstances. But for the majority of people, such as those who have struggled with their relationship with food in the past, it is not necessary and it's not smart. And there's no, especially if your goal is not fat loss right now, there's no need to save calories in the run up to social occasions, including Christmas. And when I talk about planned restraint, I'm talking again about saving a moderate amount of calories in the run up to a social occasion. Some people might be able to do this and be absolutely okay with it. But if you don't know for definite that you're one of those people who's absolutely okay doing that, and it doesn't make you feel any sort of negative way towards food, it doesn't cause any issues with your thoughts around food, if you're one of those people, that's fine. But if you don't definitely know that you're one of those people, I would not recommend trying it. My recommendation would be to just eat as normal throughout the week and on the day itself, because your likelihood of actually overeating is then going to be much slimmer if you eat as normal throughout the week and you don't try and restrict. And your ability to enjoy the day itself, the time with your friends and family, is going to be so much better as a result of you not being so food focused and not having made the whole occasion about food and about trying to save calories in the run up to it. You're going to be able to be much more controlled with food, much more mindful, because your hunger isn't through the roof as a result of you trying to backload or save calories. And when I talk about the day itself, what I'm referring to is that I wouldn't recommend you try and fast all day if your Christmas dinner is at 3 p.m, for example, because you're then going to go into that meal starving, hungry, and your likelihood of overeating then is going to be so much higher. And again, you're going to be so much more food focused, when in reality, occasions such as Christmas, they don't have to completely revolve around food. They should be about spending time with your loved ones, being present in the moment. And your ability to do that is going to be reduced massively if you've made it all about food and trying to track your macros or trying to save calories. So we want to try and take the focus away from that and make it about the day and being present with friends and family, enjoying living in the moment and enjoying the company of those who you are with, as opposed to it being solely about the food. And that applies for any other social occasion, not just Christmas, not just New Year's, but any social occasions that you go to. They don't have to completely revolve around the food or the alcohol that's there. You don't have to overindulge to have a great time, and you don't have to make it all about calories and saving up for these occasions to have a good time. And yeah, so that's the main sort of point I wanted to cover on the first point. And just to reiterate about the day itself, have your normal breakfast, or maybe have something that's not super calorie dense if you usually have a really large breakfast, but listen to your appetite, check in with yourself. When you wake up in the morning, say to yourself, how hungry am I right now? And then eat in line with that hunger. And then before you go into your Christmas dinner, ask yourself, how hungry am I for this right now, after you've had that breakfast? And then you can eat in line with that hunger. You can leave food on your plate. And I would recommend everyone gives themselves permission to do that. That's one thing that can improve your ability to be mindful massively, just giving yourself that permission to leave the food on your plate. And that's something that can be quite hard if you've been conditioned to eat everything that's in front of you from when you were a child. If you've been told to eat everything on your plate when you were younger, it can take a long time to get rid of that conditioning, but it's so rewarding when you can. So it's so worth working on. And things like that little tweak, that tweak to your conditioning, can have such a big impact on your relationship with food and your ability to enjoy these type of occasions. So talking about the day itself as a whole, the first thing I want you to remember is that Christmas dinner, like any other social occasion, any other meal out, is just a meal. It is just food. You consume food every single day. It's just food that's been cooked by somebody else and put together by somebody else. And remind yourself of the benefits that will come with you relaxing around that occasion. So again, the ability to be present in the moment, the ability to have quality conversation with your loved ones, the ability to enjoy human connection and build on the relationships in your life, the ability to just enjoy your surrounding, the environment, wherever you are, what's around you, rather than being so focused on the food itself. The ability to actually enjoy the food, because if you're not relaxed during that occasion, your ability to enjoy the food that's there, again, even if you're food focused, it's crazy, but you might not really be able to enjoy it for what it is if you're stressing over it and worried about it. And I think a useful thing for a lot of people to do is to go through the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario, what is that for you? Is that you overindulge and gain some body fat? If that's the worst case scenario, so what? Life goes on. You won't look back and remember the body fat that you gained during Christmas 2021. You will look back and remember the memories that you made and the time that you had and the food that you enjoyed. You're not going to look back and be like, oh my God, I gained a pound Christmas 2021. Mad. You won't remember that. You will remember the memories. Or if you don't allow yourself to enjoy the occasion, if you don't allow yourself to make those memories, you'll look back and remember how stressed and worried about the occasion you were. So think about, in 5 years, what will you look back and remember? Play that worst case scenario through and actually make yourself realize that, is it the end of the world if you gain a pound of body fat? Probably not. Like I said, life goes on and life is to be lived. And for some people, you've got to have a look at what your goals and values are right now in this moment and what your priorities are. And for some people, for a lot of people actually, over Christmas, the priority might be making memories and enjoying being present in the moment and allowing yourself to relax around food, which may result in you being in a slight calorie surplus. That will be a priority over maintaining the body composition that you're in right now. And that's absolutely okay. You just have to hold yourself accountable and responsible for that. So if you recognize that your priority is making memories, relaxing around the occasion, enjoying the foods that's there, enjoying time with friends and family, enjoying whatever food you want to enjoy whilst you are there, if that's your priority over maintaining your body composition, then that's great. And actually that will be the case for a lot of people, but just recognize that that is your priority so that you're okay with what happens as a result of that. Like if you do gain a bit of body fat over Christmas and New Year, you're okay with that because you've acknowledged your priorities and you know that you're acting in line with your own values right now and what's right for you. And it might be that further down the line, your body composition comes above making memories. And that's fine, but it's about recognizing what's important to you right now at this moment in time, in this season of your life, and during certain occasions that you're attending. What are your priorities? What are your values? Are you acting in line with those? And hold yourself accountable for your own decisions and your own actions, and allow yourself to live your life in a way that makes you feel happy. So yeah, play through worst case scenario. And just to put things into perspective as well, you would have to consume around 3,500 extra calories on top of your maintenance calories in one single day to gain a pound of body fat. So the likelihood of you doing that is very slim. 3,500 calories is a lot. And yes, Christmas dinner is very calorie dense, but that would be 3,500 calories on top of your maintenance. And I would say if you've not restricted in the run up to Christmas, if you've gone in your ability to be mindful is there, your ability to relax around the occasion, enjoy it and be present is there, you recognize that the occasion is not just about the food that's there, it's also about enjoying time with friends and family, but you allow yourself to enjoy food in moderation and you're mindful with it and you check in with yourself, you check in with your hunger cues. your likelihood of being able to consume 3,500 extra calories on top of your maintenance, if you do those things, is so slim. So to put things into perspective, the likelihood, even if you fully relax over Christmas and you don't put too much thought into your food choices, as long as you're mindful, your likelihood of gaining more than a pound of body fat is very, very slim. So just put things into perspective, play through that worst case scenario, and reassure yourself that you're going to be okay. You know, you're going to be okay over the Christmas period. And afterwards, my advice would be to carry on as normal. No extra restriction, no extra cardio, no extra steps. Just carry on as you were previously and focus on habits, focus on health focused habits, focus on doing things that make you feel good, moving your body, getting some fresh air, nourishing your body, nourishing your mind, and carry on as you were, rather than we want to resist the temptation to crash diet when you don't feel your best, because after Christmas, you will probably feel a little bit sluggish. If you've overeaten, you'll probably feel a little bit sluggish. And if you've been less active than you usually are, you might be retaining a little bit of water, especially if your Christmas dinner has been quite high in sodium, because that will cause a little bit of water retention. So you might not feel your best after Christmas. You won't feel your tightest. You might be retaining a bit of water. You might feel a bit sluggish. You've not moved much. You've had high sodium foods. You've had foods that you might not usually consume. So you're not going to feel your absolute best when you're out of routine. However, give it time, resist that temptation to crash diet when you don't feel your best. Remind yourself that extreme restriction is likely to lead to you overeating again in an uncontrollable manner, and then you'll be so much more likely to get stuck in that cycle of over restriction and then overindulging. And that's the cycle that we all want to break. It's not a nice cycle to be in. And a lot of people have been in that situation. If you've been there in the past, remind yourself of how shitty it feels and how you don't want to be back there again. And use that as a friendly reminder of why you don't want to restrict off the back of Christmas if you have overindulged. I know you might not feel your best. I know sometimes that temptation might present itself to crash diet and make quick changes, but try to think long term. Where do you want to be in 3 months' time? Where do you want to be in 6 months' time? How are you going to get there? Not where do you want to be next week? Not where do you want to be next month? Because we all know that progress takes time. Real progress that you can actually sustain over the long term takes time. You need to be patient. So you're not going to be able to make drastic changes in the space of a week or in the space of a month if you actually want to maintain it this time around and not get stuck in that cycle of extreme restriction and then regaining all of the body fat that you lost, or even extreme restriction that results in a little bit of water retention drop off and a drop in muscle glycogen and a drop in food volume, so you feel tighter but you've not actually lost much body fat, and then end up back where you started and not being able to sustain that effort. Please think long term in response to Christmas. And what I would recommend doing is just making sure that you go in with this stuff clearly mapped out in your head. You might even want to write it down on paper. I've spoken a lot recently about journaling, writing things down. It's something that I personally find really beneficial for myself. It's something that a lot of my clients do off the back of my recommendations. And we talk about that during our check-ins, but journaling is something that can really help with your perspective on things, and it can also just help you make sense of your thoughts as well. So if you haven't tried journaling before, try it. Just give it 2 minutes each day. Do it for 1 day to start with, and then commit to the next day, and then commit to the next day. Do it for a week, and it will become easier over time. At first, it will feel like effort. It will feel hard and it will feel unusual, but it will get easier and easier. You can use prompts to begin with if you need to. If any of you want inspiration for journaling prompts, drop me a direct message on Instagram and I'll send you some over, because I'm a massive fan of it and I'm happy to share that with you, because I think it's something that can benefit so many people's lives. So if you want some journaling prompts, DM me on Instagram and tell me you want some journaling prompts and I will give them you. I'm just happy to help. Like, I'm not going to obviously charge you for that or anything, just DM me. So yeah, journal and go into Christmas clear on your thoughts, clear on what your values are as an individual, clear on what your goals are right now and what your priorities are during Christmas, so that you can then act in line with those things and you're doing what's right for you as an individual. You're not following what someone else is doing. You're doing what's right for you and your goals and your priorities. And remember, think long term. The present moment, you know, one day in isolation is not going to have a noticeable impact in the grand scheme of things. 3 months down the line, if you overeat on one day, you're not going to look back and remember that. It's not going to have an impact. So reassure yourself with that thought. And let me know if this podcast helped you guys. If any of you have any questions whatsoever, if you need help managing the festive period, or if you want to work with me towards making 2022, if you want to work towards making 2022 your year, get in touch with me. Send me a direct message. Drop me an email if you want. My Instagram is Danni Bosworth, as most of you will know. But yeah, I am taking on clients for the new year at the moment. I do have a few spaces. And if you get in touch with me before the new year, I have a few spaces left at my current pricing, and then in the new year I am going to be increasing my prices. So if you get in touch with me now before the new year kicks in, you will be able to get on board and work with me at my current pricing. If you wait until the new year, it will be my increased prices. So get in touch now if you want to work together. I would absolutely love to have you on board, and I have a few spaces at the moment, so don't hesitate to get in touch. Don't sleep on it. Like I said, there is a slightly cheaper price available now. It will be going up in the new year. And thank you so much, as always, guys, for listening. I really hope this podcast helped. I'm going to be doing the next podcast on setting your goals for the new year, and I'm really excited to share some advice with you on that. So if you do have any specific questions on goal setting in general, on how to make sure that you set your goals in a way that's sustainable, on how to achieve your goals for good and actually maintain the progress that you make this time around, as opposed to being in this constant cycle of dieting and then regaining the body fat that you actually worked so hard to lose. If you want any advice on any of those, if you have any specific questions on any of that, please drop me a direct message and I will cover your questions during the next podcast. But thank you so much for listening, guys. It's my absolute pleasure, as always. Please do like and subscribe and share on your Instagram story, and I will see you next week.